this is Tate, and welcome to not only It's Wrestling Time, but to the WrestleManiacs podcast. I'm joined once again by fellow WrestleManiac, Josh.
Hey, WrestleManiacs, good evening and good evening, Donala. Again, we got you again doing NXT. I'll tell you what, it's like bringing somebody from the main roster doing a guest spot on NXT. That's what it feels like every time you're around. So thank you for your legendary status coming down here to NXT and kind of joining us and reviewing. So we appreciate it.
You know what? I take that as a compliment.
Exactly.
All right,
We love having
let's
you.
get to it. Is Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. And tonight, Josh and I are going to be talking about NXT Spring Breakin' Part Night 2. So as we know, for whatever reason, NXT Spring Breakin' was a 2-week event. We talked about it last week. Now let's talk about this week. Let's kick things off talking about this underground match. It was the first NXT Women's Underground match. It was Lola Vice versus Natalya. Now I thought this was a pretty decent match. This match is all about Lola Vice, I'd have to say. Like, she beat Natty, and I like the fact that she won by a knockout because that back fist, and then she did forearm strikes. She didn't tap out Natty. She beat her by a knockout, and I think this was a huge win for Lola Vice to beat a veteran like Natty.
For sure. Although I posted on Twitter saying, it's kind of like your mom saying, I want to watch UFC. We got UFC at home. So it was all right. Serviceable enough. I get what they're going. I mean, definitely to trust this young superstar to be the main event of their second week of spring break and right after WrestleMania says a lot. Beating Natalya says a lot. Match was all right. A little clunky at times. I think they weren't really sure where they wanted to go. They went a little bit UFC style, a little bit of WWE, which, again, it's an okay marriage, but I don't know. I understood the finish, but I still didn't like the way it was presented, I guess. So it was all right.
Lola Vice is definitely a star. She has a lot of potential. Bright things are in store for her.
For sure. Again, to have that trust so quickly in her and for her to jump up probably in the last pay-per-view or two to her main eventing a second week of the Spring Breakin' series. I mean, definitely says a lot. The match I just wasn't crazy about.
Yeah. Okay. So NXT Spring Breakin' Night 2 kicked off with a Trick Williams promo. This was a very interesting promo, to say the least. I really like the fact that he thanked Ilya Dragunov for everything that he did for the NXT and for anything he did for his career. He calls this a Whoop That Trick era, the Whoop That era. And he guarantees that they're going to break records and make history. Now, Lash Legend comes out and she congratulates Trick Williams. I don't know what was going on. I mean, are they dating in real life?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that's the story. But I mean, yeah, they're dirty birdie candy talk. I was a little bit thrown off by that. I'm like, what in the hell? Reese's and Kit Kats? And folks, don't go to Urban Dictionary and put those because you don't want to know what the hell those means. I don't think they mean it, but I made that mistake. Let Dolin know ahead of time that I'm now emotionally scarred from reading it. So just know that I'm hoping and praying they're just talking about, and it was a weird, even the commentary later on talked about an awkward promo encounter that they had. But, again, yeah, they are dating in real life, I believe.
Okay, that would explain this promo. He makes reference to the fact that last time Lash was in the ring with him, she wanted to slap him or she slapped him.
I think she was trying to slap him, but again, like I said, it was a bizarre promo because again, they really just kind of were. I don't really remember them really interacting that much. That's the strange thing to me. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was a weird promo, and it kind of threw me off guard, especially if it's setting up to a match between somebody. I don't know. It just the promo that they had later on made more. Or the little interaction they had later made more sense. But go ahead. Yeah, what in the fan?
Okay. We had Arianna Grace and Gigi Dolin. They were eating dinner. And they're about etiquette. I kind of like the fact that they had Arianna Grace try to make Gigi Dolin into a lady, and you had Gigi Dolin be like the tomboy and stuff like that. Now, they were using this sequence to make flashbacks. They talked about Ivar versus Femi, AOP, Frazer and Axiom, and I like the fact that Gigi Dolin said that she was going to serve Jacy a cold dish of revenge because, Jacy betrayed
Right.
Gigi Dolin.
Pretty neat segment. I mean, Arianna Grace tends to be starting to become a favorite because she just has that charisma that. And look, her dad's Santino Marella, and those apparently that apple doesn't fall far from the tree because she's just got something. Her wrestling, not the greatest, but Santino wasn't known for his wrestling skill either. It was his character and his timing. So
yeah,
can't say much about that. So I did like this segment. It was a nice way of kind of, if you didn't start the show out, you're wondering what's going on. You kind of know the big match is coming up. So pretty cool segment, I guess.
So next we get the NXT North American title match. It's Oba Femi versus Ivar. This was a good match. I was really looking forward to this match. This was a meat match.
But the mere fact that Ivar is able to go off the apron and do a dive, not only once, but twice, if not 3 times, and make it seem smooth and seamless. Again, that is, I can't even tell you that's even camera magic, because again, for him to have such a smooth movement, almost like, I don't want to say like Ricochet, but I mean, he flips like Ricochet does. I mean, and that's a big meaty man, running at you. I was surprised Oba Femi didn't get injured because that's a lot of weight coming at you. But
yeah, this was great. This is probably one of 3 matches I was looking forward to.
Definitely.
I'll tell you what the other 2 are later. But if you notice, as Trick Williams was walking to the back, Oba Femi was like staring at him. So kind of from some foreshadowing right there.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind that match. Again, it's something different. Trick Williams needs to have a giant to slay. Now, the crowd picking between, Trick Williams and Oba Femi because they do the whoo thing, with him. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting feud. I wouldn't be upset to see them feud.
I definitely do think that would make an interesting feud. I don't think that feud is going to happen anytime soon, but they definitely planted the seeds for it.
I wonder if it's around SummerSlam time. Maybe that'd give him enough time to kind of, get built up a little bit more as a monster, and give Trick some time too.
I wonder if they're going to go, how can I say this? I'm just going to explain this using TNA terms. I wonder if they're going to go the option C with this and have Oba Femi relinquish that North American title undefeated and basically go on to challenge Trick Williams for that title. So I wonder if they're going to go that route.
It'd be different. It definitely would kind of establish the option C rule. Definitely have never been against the option C rule in TNA. I thought it was a genius way to do it. So yeah, that's actually a really cool thing to think about now.
Yeah, the Samoa Joe did that in AEW too.
Yes, exactly. So that's actually a really cool idea. I really wouldn't be mad seeing that either.
Yeah. So Oba Femi won. Again, this was an incredible match. Electric chair and then a pop-up power bomb. Like, holy shit.
Yes. Insane. Go out of your way to see this, because this was definitely a meat match, but definitely meat was flying everywhere pretty much without, making the weird turn, but it pretty much was.
Yeah. So at the end, Wesley returns and confirms Oba Femi. You want to fill me in here? I mean, I know Wesley's a rascal here, but fill me in.
It has been a while since we've seen Wesley, and I mean, like, I would probably say even more than a year. From what I recall, is I think he had to pretty much relinquish the NXT North American Champion. He literally just won it and got injured and literally had to relinquish it. So essentially, Wesley returning was a shock. I really, honestly, I hate to say it, but I'd forgotten about him because he's been gone, quite a significant amount of time. I'd say more than a year. And so for him to come back all of a sudden was like, holy crap, where has he been? Oh, Wesley. Now, granted, the visual of poor little Wesley standing against Oba Femi is, hurts him a little bit. But again, it is interesting he's back for the title. So I thought that was a cool surprise. Because I've heard read nothing online about Wesley's return. So they kept that a secret.
Because the last time I heard of Wesley, I know he was teaming with Nash Carter before he was released, and now he's Zachary Wentz. So I didn't know what had happened to Wesley. And now I know. Thank you.
Yeah. He's been gone for, I'm telling you, it's been a long time. To me, the point to where I was like, I'd forgotten he was even a thing,
Yeah. Okay, we get a Chase You segment, and basically Thea Hell is asking Fallon Henley to come out with her, and she tells her not to let Jada Parker get in her head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that she wasn't drafted to Raw or anything like that. Come out with me. It's okay. It's okay. So, I mean, good foreshadowing, I guess. I thought it was weird. Thea Hale was very much like, come out with me, because you got the whole Chase U crowd. But as we go and discuss the match, we'll see why that was important as well.
So we get Jacy Jayne versus Thea Hale. I thought this was another match that I was looking forward to, honestly, because I was kind of curious, like, what was going to go down with this. And I don't know if JJ's watching or even listening, because I know how much he likes Thea Hale, but I kind of felt like she was going to lose this match. In my opinion, she should have lost this match.
Agreed. I was very surprised.
So I was surprised when she beat Jacy Jayne by submission, especially what happens at the end. You had Fallon Henley turn on Thea Hale. She attacked her, and as Fallon Henley's walking by, I believe Jacy Jayne kind of smiles at her.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacy Jayne was busted open. I think that happened after both women hit that the
hard way. I mean, it was a great visual, because again, it talks about, and the story has been that Thea Hale is, been kind of seen as a little girl, essentially, that she's not really an adult, not really a badass. And I mean, look, whether it was purposeful or not, seeing Jacy Jayne have that busted nose and bleeding after, you're like, holy hell, she really, beat her up. And with the Fallon Henley thing, that's it. If it was going to happen the way I was expecting it, I was expecting Fallon Henley to turn and cost her the match against Jacy Jayne, but it almost seemed like she turned heel independent of Jacy Jayne. So I'm curious if there's going to be a connection, or if it's just she's had enough of Thea Hale. So I'll be curious to see what the follow-up is next week on that.
You're right, because if they were going to turn her heel, like, she should have just cost her this match. But maybe you're right. Maybe this is independent of Jacy Jayne. Because you remember, didn't Jada Parker tell her last week, like, oh, you always get in everybody's business or something like that?
Yes. And I wondered if that was, like you said, getting in her head, essentially. And I mean, Fallon Henley has not, I don't want to say she hasn't had purpose, because she has at one time, but since losing Kiana James and then losing the tag team title, she's really kind of just been a supporting role for different wrestlers. So female wrestlers. So they're not wrong. So, I mean, it made sense. I really am. I sat there and wondered and thought, why didn't they bring her to Raw or SmackDown? Because she's been there so long, but now that she's going to be a heel character, I'm all for it, because you know what? She needs a reset. Great. Let's see how she does, because Kiana James is now gone. So it makes sense.
Okay. All right. So then we get we see Natty training. She's training for her underground match. JJ Booth. Why am I not surprised? So she's training for her underground match. And, we also get a Lola Vice training segment too with Shayna Baszler. So
good hype for the main event. I mean, I didn't realize until they were like, oh, it is going to be the main event. I like this, because they did try to at least add some legitimacy. I like that Petrovich was like, watch for the kick, watch for the punch. And so, I mean, they made it feel like an Ultimate Fight feel. So I did like these segments. They didn't seem as cheesy as they usually are.
Yeah. All right, we get a tag team match, the OC versus the debuting Tyson, Dupont, and Tyriek. I can't say his last name.
Igwe, maybe? Igwe, I'm not really. They never really said it, it seemed like. They always just said it by his first name.
This is interesting, because I did feel like Tyson, Dupont, and Tyriek Igwe had a great showing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they lost here. I'm not a big fan of the Good Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought that they were going to make Tyson, Dupont, and Tyriek Igwe win here. I even told myself, like, this is going to be a squash match. Like, why are they facing the Good Brothers if it's going to be a squash match? But I was really surprised they made them lose in their debut.
I'll be honest with you, I was glad, because, I mean, to me, but again, I have my own personal reasons for the OC to get over. They need to get back over. I need the story again of AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, and who are the OC going to go? They're going to go with AJ. They're going to go with Cody, because, again, the whole Bullet Club aspect. So it was surprising, but I definitely think they got over in losing, because sometimes, look, some people get over just by losing their match. I mean, Chad Gable considerably got more over and more sympathy losing to Gunther, and look where he is now. Had he won, it'd been great, right? But I think that they wanted to tell a story of this up-and-coming tag team. They lose their first match, and who knows? There may be a reason why they lost. It may not be just for the OC. So I was happy with the result, actually.
Okay. Yeah, not the biggest fan of the OC, so.
Got it. Makes sense. It's all good.
So Ava Raine announces that on Sunday, June 9th, and I'm going to say this again, and I might have to spell it out for people. I will not be attending NXT Battleground. So please do not keep asking me. They will crown the first ever North American Women's Champion at Battleground. And they're going to basically crown them the same way they crown the men in a ladder match. I literally just answered this question.
I think he's trolling. I think he's doing it on purpose.
So 6 women are going to compete in a ladder match. And Jada Parker interrupts. You know where this is going. Jada Parker interrupts. Ruka interrupts. Arianna Grace interrupts. Although I thought it was funny that she was trying to like make a suggestion. I think, probably because she's a pageant. So I'm assuming, she was probably going to suggest, maybe do ballots or something.
Right.
Mia Yim interrupts. She says that she has some unfinished business in her own stomping grounds. Arianna Grace tries to introduce herself to Michin. Michin attacks, and then this brawl breaks out, obviously, So, what are your thoughts on this segment?
It was okay. I mean, it showed the importance, although I have to admit, Jada Parker showing up in the gray and black plaid now pretty much makes me understand, it's like they live in the Friday universe. Got it. Okay, now I understand their gimmick. So, overall, okay. I mean, again, they're showing the importance of the title. I mean, it's almost equivocal if you think about it, really, as if WWE was going to announce the first women's intercontinental champion. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal because they do know that they have a great roster. Now, I did think of you in one moment when Ava said, we have the best women's roster in pro wrestling, period. And I was like, Donald is going to love that segment. So I did kind of pop huge for that. I was waiting on you to be like, nope, wrong, TNA first, and then second, NXT.
NXT women's roster is pretty good. I will say that. I think they can give the Knockouts a run for their money.
I'm wondering if they're going to eventually, and again, I don't know. I wouldn't be upset if they eventually had an all-women's little show. Why not? They had Evolution, and that was a good show. I really enjoyed Evolution. So, we could get away with them having their own segment. They need it.
I think more so the NXT women can have an all-women's pay-per-view. I feel like the main roster, the talent is there, but storylines and booking is not that great for them. So I feel like NXT could do it, could pull it off.
Right, and maybe that's why. And we've got May coming up, so I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll have an all-women's PLE or a 2-week PLE, because why the hell not? The one thing I don't like about the 2-week format is that really watching them like these pay-per-view, supposed events, it takes me out when I get commercials. I'm like, I don't feel like it's a pay-per-view now because I'm watching it picture-in-picture while a Pizza Hut commercial plays or whatever else. So, again, I don't know. I was excited about this. I think this is a good move for NXT because, they've got so many talented women. Get another woman to shine. Why not?
I don't like the 2-week format. It should
I don't like
1 week. I don't like it.
Yeah, it seems forced.
It's a struggle to watch 1 weeknight. To watch 2 weeks.
Getting everybody's hopes up thinking you're going to watch NXT forever. I know. It's cool.
Again, I'm telling you, I'm going to make a Patreon, or when I get monetized, make a members only. You guys are going to pay for those NXT
Hey,
reviews.
JJ might pay for it. You never know. You got at least one buyer at least. So, hey, why not?
Huh. All right. So, we got Nathan Frazer in the Axiom segment. And they're basically approached by the Street Profits, who tell them, a little bit about AOP. And Montez Ford tells them to never slow down.
The Street Profits, I mean, the pride confuses me because initially they turned heel and now they're babyface, but they're not, but they are. So it's very confusing. Again, this was nice to have the Street Profits, NXT, older OG NXT, I guess I should call it, running into the younger team. But I did like that he was like, look, y'all going to get hurt. Y'all going to get beat tonight. But it didn't really do anything for me in this segment. I'm like, okay, they're going to push them as tag champs. Great. But I don't know. I just throwaway segment is what I'd call it.
So we get Shawn Spears versus Ridge Holland here. This was not my cup of tea. Shawn Spears, since he came back, he's no longer the perfect 10.
No.
He lost it. Ridge Holland won, but yeah, like I said, this was not my cup of tea.
I don't understand. It's so complicated because one, he's being a producer in NXT. Great. I'm sure he has talent. But again, he wasn't even using AEW, but hell, at least he had a name in AEW. Here, it's like, okay, so he loses to Ridge Holland, which Ridge Holland's story is that he technically is really, really strong and can go too far, but then he loses. If you're going to continue the story of Shawn Spears trying to get the worst out of Ridge Holland, it really should be he cheated, Ridge Holland lost it, then loses it after the match, beats the hell out of Shawn Spears, and then you could have him be like, I knew that was in you. And, I understand there's a story behind it, but it makes Shawn Spears look horrible when it's like, yeah, I want you to kick my ass. It makes no sense to me. Like, that's not the idea. The idea is to make him lose it on other people, not Shawn Spears. So it's a really weird dynamic, and I still don't understand the story.
Okay. Thanks for explaining. So we get a Roxanne Perez segment, and she's basically complaining to Ava as to why she wasn't drafted, not to Raw, not to SmackDown. She blames Ava, and Ava tries to explain to her that, champions are protected so they stay on their brands, and then she tries to talk to Perez, but she's not having it. And then you see her open the door and talk to someone. So we don't know who that is. It gets answered later in the night, though. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it when we get there. We get an Ivar segment, and Josh Briggs basically thanks him for softening up Oba Femi. Wes Lee interrupts and basically makes it a point to say that he wants his North American title back. And basically the whole gist of this is that Jason Briggs, Jason Briggs is the actor.
Yeah, hey, we know what you mean. We get it.
Oh my God, if Michael 101 was in the chat, he would be having a field day.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, Jason Briggs. Oh, no, Biggs.
Jason Biggs, yeah, the actor.
Oh my God, I called him
Botch. Nice.
Botch, yeah. Okay. Basically, it's like 11:03 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm tired. I had a long day.
Exactly. I'm keeping her up late, so blame me on that one.
Yeah, I'm keeping you up late. Isn't it like 1 a.m. where you're at?
No, I'll run till 2 or 3 usually, so no big deal. I got 2 more hours yet.
Josh Briggs, not Jason Biggs.
Look, we've had Johnny Knoxville wrestle Sami Zayn, so, let's not put out in the ether that Jason Biggs is not going to show up in NXT because, why the hell not, right? American Pie's coming back eventually. Let's just do it. NXT Spring Breakin sounds like a perfect opportunity. This NXT Spring Breakin brought to you by American Pie 7. So, I mean,
you can add him to the long list of names I botched on my review show. With Joaquin Wild being number 1 because I called him Joaquin Phoenix.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It's all right.
So the whole point of this segment is that Josh Briggs, Wes Lee, and Ivar all want the North American title. Do you see a fatal 4-way happening here?
I wouldn't be upset because, the triple threat with Biggs and, oh, God. I think it was Ivar. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dijak. Excuse me. Sorry, Dijak. Yeah, I wouldn't be upset because, again, look, Obafemi has to look strong, and they don't want him destroying everybody. So a fatal 4-way kind of makes it to where it's safe enough, and he could lose the title. Look, this could be the excuse to have him lose the title, and then him say, "Look, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore. Now I want to go for the NXT World Champion." So, look. There could be a reason for it, and they're hyping the whole UFC thing, so you never know what they're going to do with him. And there was that Trick Williams interaction earlier, so.
Yeah, and Battlegrounds at the UFC complex.
Yes.
So they're probably gonna do something huge. Still not going. All right. So AOP and Final Testament basically are coming for those titles, and they tell NXT to get ready.
I like
And
the
then we get
segment.
the D'Angelo family like driving around. Tony D'Angelo tells Stacks to gather all of the footage of the Heritage Cup matches.
Sometimes baby faces are so dumb. It's like, so now they're knowing you're gonna watch all the footage because they watched the damn show. So I get it. I understand. I mean, it's the old saying that the heels are the worst criminals because they always talk about their devious plans on camera. And so you always know what's gonna happen. But I guess we had to have continuation of the family and the no quarter catch crew. I don't love the feud. I mean, I think it's all right, but I was shocked that neither one of those teams went to Raw or SmackDown. I was very surprised because this is not a blood feud like they're trying to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? And especially the D'Angelo family, at least Tony D'Angelo, you know?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad seeing them on Raw or SmackDown, and that would have been the ultimate test again. As I said, some NXT gimmicks are gimmicks, and they only live in the NXT universe.
All right, so we get the NXT World Tag Team title match, AOP versus Axiom and Nathan Frazer. You want to talk about this?
Pretty okay match. I mean, again, my concern was that, look, AOP and the Final Testament basically said through Paul Ellering, they're coming for all the titles, right? And if you're going to have a heel make especially a manager like that, make a promise. I mean, because look, he, managed the Road Warriors, right? If he's saying they're coming for the NXT tag team titles, look, most of us know it's telegraphed they're not going to win because, again, they were just drafted to Raw. We know this is going to happen. But my wife even herself said, well, wait a minute. If the draft just happened and she has no context, again, only been a fan since 22, she was like, well, wait a minute. How are they going for the NXT titles if they were technically on SmackDown? I'm like, would there be? Don't ask why. Just assume and understand that it doesn't matter. It's like the old show. What was it? Oh, my God. I got to think of the stand-up show. Whose line is it anyways? The points don't matter. The draft doesn't matter because they're going to show up. So, unfortunately, they were kind of booked in the corner. Now, what ended up happening is AOP pretty much dominated most of the match, and it wasn't until the new Catch Republic, who AOP attacked last week on SmackDown, basically cost them the match and allowed Frazer and Axiom to still be champions. So, again, now it makes sense as to why New Catch Republic followed the Final Testament to Raw. That's going to be a feud, I'm sure. But, I mean, it was a hard way to do that segment because, again, they should have won the NXT titles, held them up, and then maybe have a return and, screw up the whole draft thing. But, again, logic goes out the window with the draft because anybody can show up in anybody's show and there's no real consequences, So it was what it was. I mean, decent enough match. But, again, when you look at just the team of Axiom and Frazer versus AOP, I don't know. I didn't like it.
JJ says, I don't think that the D'Angelo family will work on the main roster, and no quarter catch crew aren't ready. If they're coming for all titles, does that mean Scarlett is going to start wrestling? That's true. If they're coming for all the titles, she should start wrestling.
I'm a fan. I would definitely curious to see what the hell she would wear to wrestle in, but definitely I think it'd be a good thing. I mean, look, Karrion Kross, this Final Testament thing could be a thing. I always call it like, the Wish version of Judgment Day, right? Because they're trying to be this evil faction that's taking over, but now you're going to have the Final Testament and Judgment Day on Raw. Are we going to see them interact? Are they just going to act independent of one another? Because that's a big question. Because both want to dominate Raw.
I guess it makes sense because, I feel like Judgment Day is getting ready to split to break up, and they're going to need another faction in their place. So it makes sense that they're both on Raw.
Yeah. Not upset by it, of course, at all, but I'm curious to see if they're going to actually have them interact or they're going to not ever have that. I mean, because I could see Karrion Kross running into Damian Priest saying, I've got next, I'm coming for your title, because if they're coming for everything, they should, Monday Night Raw, if they're really serious, they should have them attack everyone. But again, the question is, who does Karrion Kross attack? Sami Zayn, which I wouldn't be upset about. Damian Priest? I don't know. If you're going to promise something, do it. Otherwise, AOP losing to me should have been, I hate to say by disqualification, but I don't like that they were cost by the New Catch Republic. It just, to me, went totally against what they were saying of going for all the titles, because AOP is huge, man. You know, they're not just, it's like Brock Lesnar saying, I'm going to win the world title and then lose to Rey Mysterio. Sorry, but that's just how I compare it.
All right. So what happened afterwards?
So after that, we get a backstage segment with Thea Hale basically in the trainer's room. Her heart's broken. You know, again, how could another friend turn on her, or at least what she thought was a friend? And the weirdest interaction, which makes no sense. Ridge Holland comes in, and Mr. Chase comes up and is like, look, you know, good match, you know, good winning. And there's some interaction between them, and I don't understand it. Literally, Ridge was like, all right, man, I got you. So I don't know if there's going to be a story of maybe Mr. Chase is trying to teach Ridge Holland how to keep the evil within, and maybe Shawn Spears is the devil on his shoulder. Maybe that's the story, but to me, it was so random. And I follow NXT, and I'm like, well, why are they talking to each other? Because I don't recall Ridge Holland really running into Mr. Chase that much, or Chase U. So a little weird. So after that, we actually get a shot of outside, and you see Metaphor, the entire crew, come out and basically say, look, Trick Williams, you want to know what's in this envelope? Why don't you join us on the Supernova sessions this coming week, next week on NXT? So that's going to be revealed of what Lash Legend is talking about in that envelope and what's going to be going on. So,
okay.
From there, we get a segment actually right after that in the same vein, in the same shot of Fallon Henley coming out. And I think her name is, you know, I hate to say it, it's like Kiana.
Kalani Jordan?
Kalani. I don't know why I mix Kalani and Kiana, but Kalani Jordan, yeah. So she's basically saying, Fallon, you know, what's the deal? And basically Fallon's like, I need to have time with myself. I just need time by myself. Leave it alone. And pretty much just walks off. So there's no real explanation, just she needs time to herself. So we then get this kind of random, like, you basically are backstage with the No Fay and Blade. They talk about last week when the OC came in the locker room, and No Fay actually had a mirror break, and now it's about 7 years bad luck, essentially. And then that Brinley Reese character comes, and they're like, we don't want to work out. She's like, no, I brought some animals. And it's black cats, and now it's a bunch of bad luck. And so that was it. I didn't really understand the segment. I kind of was, you know...
That's kind of an odd segment.
It's very weird. Like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, I don't recall them being very superstitious to begin with. And it was very much, I don't want to say it hurt them, but what the hell the Brinley Reese is doing with Enofe and I don't even know if they even have a name, which I still don't like. They don't have a name, but Enofe and Blade, essentially. I mean, waste of time. Again, a throwaway segment that really showed nothing beyond black cats and broken mirrors or bad luck, and maybe something's going to happen to them.
What's next? They're going to walk under a ladder?
I swear to goodness, that's probably going to be next. I would not be surprised. They're like, oh, you can't walk under. I mean, it's stupid. Like, they're not on the show enough to really make sense. If they started losing matches after, then it makes sense. But I don't know. Sometimes NXT gives me a headache, and this is one of those, like, why are we doing this? And so it's not Halloween either, so it makes no sense.
Yeah. So after that, we get the main event, which, as we already talked about. But there is one more segment. After the main event, Roxanne Perez once again asks why she's still there. Gigi says, oh, my bad. Gigi says Brinley Reese will walk under the ladder at Battleground.
Good point.
Good point. And it's revealed that she's going to defend against Chelsea Green. And Chelsea Green says that she thinks she's going to love it there and that Ava is the best. And I had to say, I'm a little confused because wasn't she drafted over to SmackDown? I know draft wasn't going to affect until May 6th. Well, don't get me wrong, I like Chelsea Green, but why is she on NXT?
Again, my wife was like, what the hell is going on? She said she was just drafted to SmackDown. What happened to Piper Niven? Why is she on NXT now? Now, if it was announced that, you know, that Chelsea was stolen by Ava Raine, again, don't really matter who gives a damn about the draft, because all we have to have is a story. And do I want to see Roxanne Perez and Chelsea Green? I could care less because one, Roxanne Perez ain't losing unless they decide to do something crazy and have her be NXT champ. It just, we already complained about the draft being safe, where everybody stayed pretty much where they wanted to. And then now all of a sudden they're breaking the rules before the damn draft's even in effect. I don't get it. As I said on Twitter, I missed the OG draft when everybody stayed where the hell they're supposed to stay. I remember Jericho showing up on Raw way back when, like when they were the Un-Americans. That was a huge thing at the end of Raw. That was a main event segment of him just showing up on Raw. What's he doing here? He's not supposed to be here. And now all of a sudden we have Chelsea Green, who's on SmackDown, showing up on NXT. And it's after the draft. From my understanding, I thought the draft is supposed to go into effect, as you said, May 6th on Monday. So why is she on NXT on Tuesday? I don't understand. Unless NXT is just this land that anybody can show up, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe we missed the idea that Raw and SmackDown can go to NXT anytime, because why is Ivar there? I don't know. Just because it's cool to show up in NXT, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe by some crazy thing they'll swap Chelsea and Roxanne Perez if Chelsea Green beats her.
I mean, it would get major heat if Chelsea Green was the NXT champion, and she wears the craziest ass outfit with that bow t-shirt. So that was typical Chelsea Green. I don't know. Again, my wife just literally looked at me. She was like, and I was like, I know, I don't get it. Don't ask me to explain, because sometimes there's no explaining. You just have to understand. It just is what it is.
JJC's main roster talent always gets to come down to NXT. Roxy was supposed to be drafted. She wasn't because of Cora Jade's injury. So apologies to have main roster talent be with Roxy to make sure she's ready. I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And I don't know if you saw this, but in the digital media exclusive, Chelsea Green reunites with Robert Stone.
I didn't see that. That is interesting. Well, I mean, Von Wagner's fired, so he's got to have something to do now.
So
maybe being a producer,
we're going to see a reuniting of Robert Stone and Chelsea Green. Maybe he'll follow her to the main roster. Maybe she'll hang around NXT for a little bit. We have to wait and see.
Again, as I said, it's like the points don't matter, the draft don't matter. Everybody can show up where they want to, and again, I mean, I don't know what's harder, trying to explain the draft to my wife or trying to explain the Katie Vick angle to my wife. Just understand it is what it is. Don't ask me why. So who cares? It's just the draft. Everybody stayed where they're supposed to. So a rare miss for the Triple H era, I will say that.
All right. So overall, what would you rank tonight's show on a scale from a 1 to a Shawn Spears perfect 10?
This is hard because, again, I didn't feel like this was really a pay-per-view. Again, I know last week we had the big match with the world title, but I'm going to be honest, I would say 5, and that's being generous. Only because Natalya, again, is such an established star that she took the time to get her ass beat by Lola Vice. Again, I thought it would have been better had she won, but I get it. The Reese's Pieces, Kit Kat, whatever the hell that was, intro with Trick, I guess, has a reason, but I thought it was weird they left that open as a thread. So I don't know. I would definitely say a 5 to be fair, but not a spring break-in for sure.
JJ gives it a 9 out of 10.
Really? A 9 out of 10? That's curious to me. You have to comment why you think it's 9 out of 10. I'd love to hear your opinion on that for sure.
I honestly thought last week was a lot better and a lot stronger than this week. I wasn't a huge fan of the Trick Williams promo. I thought it was a little awkward with him and Lash out there. Femi versus Ivar was good. Really liked that match.
Yes.
Arianna Grace, Gigi, Dolin, comedic effect. That I didn't mind that.
It's going too long though. That said, those segments are going too long. I'm like, all right, let's see the new Georgina. Let's move on.
Jacy, Jayne versus Thea was good. I was looking forward to that too. The OC versus Tyson, Dupont, and Tyriek. I can't say his last name. I didn't really care for.
Igwe,
I'm not a huge fan of the OC. Tyson and Tyriek had a great showing though, so even though they lost, they had a great showing. Didn't really care for Shawn Spears versus Rich Holland.
Not a perfect 10. Terrible.
Not a perfect 10.
Horrible. What they see Rich Holland, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I just don't get it.
And I'm not a huge fan of AOP, so I didn't really care for the tag match. Oh, Trick and Lash are a legit couple, but Trick is face and Lash is heel, hence the awkwardness.
I mean, I get that part. I get it, but still, like, what? I still don't understand the Reese's and Kit Kat things. I want to understand. Like, I want to understand, is there some cultural significance that's flown over my head, like with Mello being him? So,
Oh, I wonder if the envelope is a pregnancy
oh,
test result.
ooh,
Oh,
okay. See, now I'm a
okay.
little more interested. Now I'm a little more interested now with the Wendy Williams of NXT, essentially, and Trick Williams. Interesting.
Yeah. So overall, I'd have from a 1 to a Shawn Spears perfect 10. I'd have to give this, I'm going to be generous. I'd have to give this a 6 out of 10. Some good matches, but overall, I was not a huge fan of this week.
Mm-mm.
And last week was a lot better and a lot stronger, in my opinion.
Yeah, this felt like the Sunday night heat before a pay-per-view is what it felt like to me. Like, I mean, you had Ivar, and again, not to take away from Ivar and Oba Femi, I love the camera shot of Obi stepping on the camera as we went to break. Thought that was cool. It just, I hate to say this, nothing against the gals, but I really thought if you're going to go out with a banger, you should have had Ivar versus Oba Femi instead of the NXT Underground match, because I had flashbacks to those horrible matches from 2020 on the Raw Underground with Shane McMahon and, all that other awkward stuff. So
I feel
didn't look
like
good.
this could have just been a regular NXT episode.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's I think that's what it is it was supposed to be bigger, but even an NXT episode that just seemed to have like weird, I would just say continuity issues, because again, they're a legit couple, great, but why the hell is Lash Legend all of a sudden showing up with Trick Williams? Like, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand the interactions. Why is Ridge Holland talking to Mr. Chase? I don't know, and I watched the damn show. So, I mean, if I'm confused and I don't know who these people are, same with Igwe and the other guy. Like, I didn't see a promo with them. I don't watch NXT Level Up. So, to me, them announcing they're going to show up on a pay-per-view debut, not seeing any segment about them until that week 1 of Spring Breakin' was a mistake. It was a mistake to put them out there because I could care less, and they got their ass beat by the OC. So really, what good did they do?
Gigi says, I do think they made a mistake by putting the next NXT Championship and NXT Women's Championship
Thank
matches
you.
on the same night. I would have split those. Yeah, they definitely would have. And I think it would have made for a much stronger night too.
The women should have been night 1. The men should have been night 2 because of the story of Trick winning the title, only because of the story of him winning the title. Because, again, you want to wait for the world title. I mean, look at it. That's like, you didn't see Cody and Roman on night 1 for WrestleMania. You saw it on night 2. So, same logic, I think.
But I think the reason why they did it night 1 is because they wanted to move Ilya Dragunov up in the draft. So they had to take the belt off of him.
Well, hell, Chelsea Green is, going to challenge for the championship on May the 7th. So who gives a damn? I mean, he could still be an NXT champion, and, I get it. Again, the logic is there, but then WWE logic goes out the window a week later. So
Their logic always goes out the window sometimes. All right, Josh, as we get ready to wrap up, where can people find you?
Well, you'll actually see me at the new Twitter handle, WrestleM Podcast. So you'll see that there. And then, of course, follow us at A Plus Opinions as well anytime we go live. So that's where you can find me. And I'm a lot more active on X finally now. I'm talking about more stuff and trying to be more interactive. And so, thanks for your all's patience, but I'm definitely going to be more active now on X. So.
As for myself, you can follow me at @still_. I talk all things wrestling, WWE, AEW, TNA Impact. No, I'm not going to be doing NXT here next week. But Josh is. If you want to watch Josh talk about NXT, he is. I'm not.
It's going to be the feud of the year.
Now you're just messing with me because I already answered that question.
Again,
okay.
Your feud with your fans is hilarious. I love it.
Gigi's just messing with me. Poor guy is in the back brace because he had to carry me for a whole month with doing these NXT reviews.
If you start doing NXT reviews weekly, he's going to be like Drew McIntyre over a grave doing this, essentially Dotala's refusal to watch NXT. So,
anywho, I talk about things wrestling, WWE, AEW, TNA. You can catch me on Rangers of Wrestling Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The occasional Saturdays and Sundays. You can catch me every Thursday on Body Slam as I cover TNA Impact. I did go to Rebellion and the tapings. Make sure you check out my clips from that channel. But with that being said, thank you guys also so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys here tomorrow after AEW Dynamite. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.